So all spirituality is just acceptance. Um, it's just acceptance. If you're having some problem or you're stuck somewhere, you're just not accepting something. Um, so, and our reality, there's two fields in our reality. There's our mentality or mental reality, and then there's the materiality, the material reality. So, in terms of your mentality, you have beliefs and you have expectations and you have all this programming that tells you how the materiality should be. Um, so when something happens and it doesn't line up with our beliefs, you know, and we don't accept that, we get stuck. We have a problem. So until we figure out what it is that we're not accepting, we're not going to be able to move on. Figuring out what the specific belief is absolutely essential for the person to accept the problem and then move on. I mean, figuring out what the problem is the first and oftentimes the most difficult part. Accepting and solving the problem is really simple all the time, because once you accept what the problem is, there's only going to be a couple options to solve the problem. So solving the problem isn't that difficult. Now, the purest form of perception, because mentality is all based on our programming perceptions, but the purest form of perception is material perception. So material perception is just like observing things as they happen. Observing things as they happen. Observing things as they happen. And accepting them. Accepting all the things that happen. So when we observe something that happens in the life and we have a belief, conscious or subconscious belief, that says that shouldn't have happened, we become triggered. We become triggered. Being triggered means that we get caught up in this process of non-acceptance, basically trying to figure out what the belief is, because oftentimes we won't realize what the belief is. It will be a subconscious belief. We get caught up in this process of trying to uncover that belief so we can understand what the problem actually is, accept it, and then solve it. So observing yourself in terms of mentality means understanding what it is you consciously and subconsciously believe and expect. It's really important to do that. And that's like therapy, I think, basically. People who engage in religion and faith-based community organizations, institutions, churches, things like that, these people are consciously creating new beliefs to allow them to accept reality easier. So whether you go to therapy or whether you go to church, it doesn't really make much of a difference, because at the source, we're all trying to uncover those beliefs or create new beliefs that allow us to do the same thing, accept reality. Okay, so now observing the self from a paradigm of materiality helps a person to see the difference between the two fields of existence, which is materiality and mentality. So when you start to physically observe the body, so there's four dimensions of your body. There's your mind, mental contents, body, and physical sensations. So you can take that much deeper, and you can look at the energy body, and there's all these other degrees and dimensions to the energy body, but it's not necessary. We all are masses of particles, and at the end of the day, energy is what creates the whole entire body. So, but that is expressed in those four dimensions of mind, mental contents, body, and the contents of the body is physical sensations. So, when you start to observe the body from the perspective of materiality, we start to see the difference between the two fields. And once we start to see the difference between the two fields, there becomes a certain amount of detachment from the entire physical structure that allows a person to accept easier. So maybe you're doing therapy, or maybe you're thinking about doing therapy, or maybe you go to church and you believe in a God. That works, for you, because it allows you to consciously be creating new beliefs that make it easier for you to accept your reality. So, and one of the biggest beliefs that we all have and that we all want to avoid and do not want to accept is the reality that we all are going to die. Whether or not you believe you will go to heaven, or there's an afterlife, or you will be reborn into a new form, or you won't be reborn into anything, it doesn't necessarily matter, because we still have to face physical death. So if you believe in a God, or you do therapy, or you're working on yourself on that dimension, you might be avoiding that reality. And maybe your belief is, I don't want to look at that. You're not accepting that. Or maybe it doesn't matter, this body will die, but my spirit will transcend. Okay, yeah, maybe that's true, but you still have to accept physical death. So those are super helpful, and because mind and mental contents are two parts to the entire physical structure, they need to be dealt with. They need to be looked at. Those tools need to be utilized. So, but if we start to examine the body and the sensations of the body, those two dimensions of our physical structure, we can see that there is a difference between mentality and materiality, and we can start to understand that the body is going to die. The body is dying right now, because as energy comes through the body, and as we put energy into the body through mental energy and physical energy, thoughts and food, the energy is going out and it's creating arisings and then passings away of molecules and cells at such a great rapidity that we are dying every moment, right? But slowly over time, our body is decaying. So like every moment I am a new body. Like every 7 years, science says that every cell in your body has been totally replaced or something like that. But the fact remains that I am decaying, I am dying. And I have to face that. I have to accept that. So in getting to the place where we can observe the physical body and the sensations taking place on the physical body, we're not only able to accept reality a little easier in terms of maybe our mentality, but we're able to detach from it, because we start to see that mind and mental contents are just another form of arising and passing away, arising and passing away, arising and passing away. So maybe you're at the stage of therapy, maybe you're at the stage of religion, maybe you're at the stage of meditation, but they're all necessary, because they're all aspects to our bodies and to our realities. So God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot control, the power to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? So that's a good starting point for everybody. But what am I accepting? What am I accepting? In my life, sometimes this has to die. In my life, this has to die. I have to die. This body has to die. So how am I going to deal with it? Am I going to accept it or am I going to resist it? But if I don't know that this body has to die, or if I don't know that this thought or this mind or this belief sometimes has to die, come to light so it can die, how can I accept it? How can I accept what I don't know? How can I accept what I don't know? And that is ignorance. Ignorance must be totally dispelled. It must be totally dispelled. And in all the four dimensions of our being, you have to look at all of them. You can look at one of them, but chances are you won't look at one of them your whole entire life. So you have four. 11:11, time to end.